Pam, para, ba, wow, pow. Always love that intro tune. Hey, welcome, friends, and welcome to another episode of Azure Unsung Heroes of the Cloud, or however you want to call it. Either way, it's on Dev Radio. I'm here with Matt Calder. Niels, if you're out there, Niels, if you're out there listening by any chance, good luck, mate, today, whatever you're doing. All right. As you can see, he's not here, so just wishing him well. And we also have a wonderful guest all the way from Kenya. Welcome, Joylynn. How are you doing?
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, Joylynn, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're living in Kenya. What are you doing there today?
I'm here with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, yes. Yeah, I'm based out in a city called Nakuru in Kenya, which is very well known for wildlife, flamingos, uh, like our industrial nature. Like it's a wonderful place to be in. Yes.
Mhm. Oh, very nice. Very nice. Flamingos. Lots
Mhm.
of pink things flying around. And all right, cool. That's nice. So, what do you do for fun?
I do all sorts of things. I live far away from the city, so I live in a farm. I enjoy eating organic food straight from the farm and taking care of chicken and uh, and as well as milking cows.
Really? Oh, that's
So
cool.
yeah, I do a lot of stuff in the farm.
Oh,
Yes,
nice, nice. And
and yeah, apart
you
from that, I
cultivate
also do
vegetables?
some fun stuff as well.
Oh, hey, nice. Oh, and besides working on a farm and working in IT, what else do you do? Do you anything fun of activities that you do for just relaxation and hobbies?
Yeah, for some reason, I don't know why I choose to do adrenaline field stuff. I find myself jumping off a plane.
More
I
excitement
find
than
Okay.
myself jumping
relaxation.
off.
All
Uh,
right.
that's totally not relaxation, by the way. That's totally not relaxing. Because I remember, like the one time I did, skydiving. I actually landed while I was crying because I was like, why did I take such an experience?
Never
But
doing that again. Okay,
You'll
I get
learn
it.
I
something
think
about
I'll do it
yourself.
again.
Yeah.
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 You came across yourself. I can hear that. I can hear that. So
Yeah.
besides adrenaline junkie before behind next to the keyboard, you're also an adrenaline junkie behind the keyboard, right? Because you are doing something in security, right? So you're a
Yes.
developer advocate in security. How did you become a security person in IT?
I usually say the profession or the field actually chose me. So
Chose you.
many
Okay.
years ago. So I've been in the cybersecurity field for 8 years, and
Hmm.
before that, I was a software developer.
Hmm.
I can say a full stack software developer, and just like many other developers out there, I didn't take security into consideration whenever I was developing my code when I was developing systems as well.
Hmm.
So I remember one time, actually, one of my systems, it was a system because it also had a hardware component to it, was actually compromised. So that's when I actually realized that it's actually very important to have security mindset
Hmm.
inbuilt even for developers. So I started off with certified ethical hacker. Like it was
Hmm.
a beginner certification just to get a ground like what cybersecurity is all about. And then we did a lot of YouTube videos as well, like how to actually build more secure code. And then I found myself working for a company, one of the biggest tech company in Kenya, called Safaricom. I got there working in the cybersecurity department, and then left um, like 1 year ago and joined Microsoft. So in Microsoft, I'm a senior cloud security advocate, and
Hmm.
I mainly focus on DevSecOps
Oh,
and
cool.
application security. So you'll find me talking to developers on how you can actually build more secure code and DevSecOps as well.
That's nice. And that brings us seamlessly to the field where we're going to discuss about today, right? We're going to talk about Defender for DevOps. For DevOps actually. So tell me about it. I'm a big fan, to be honest. I can tell you that because I think we are in the same league when it comes down to being fan based on application security. And for me, it's just a hobby. But for you, it's your day-to-day business. Yeah. I mean,
It's not just a hobby, Mike.
well, as a cloud solution architect, you need to do everything, right?
Yes.
And but I mean, I advise my customers and my partners, mostly my partners and my ISVs on DevSecOps. But tell me about Defender for DevOps. What is so special about it, and how does it work?
So the one thing I would say is special about Defender for DevOps is that it actually accumulates almost like everything that you need for DevSecOps into one view.
Okay.
And so I don't know if you should start off from what DevSecOps is all about, or if you've had a session on DevSecOps before.
Hey, go ahead. Enlighten us, because there will probably be people that have no clue what DevSecOps is.
Yeah.
So
Application security is a little different from network security. So get
Go
us
ahead.
oriented,
Okay,
please.
so so let me just pull a presentation and just why not? Yeah. So in the meantime, when I'm pulling this, maybe Matt, have you encountered any security vulnerabilities in your lifetime, or what do you know about cybersecurity?
What do I know about cybersecurity? So I'll just tell you my actual real experience recently. So even though I don't do a whole lot of development myself, I do maintain some repos on GitHub, and some of them have open source dependencies. And actually got the Dependabot mail that I needed to update the version of one of the open source libraries that I was using. And I was actually really impressed because the link took me, got an email, link took me right to the line of code, told me what version to upgrade to, did the pull request, committed it, and then got a mail a couple minutes later that I was secure, which was pretty cool. I mean, it's a Dependabot is a great experience, but I think just I like having the security, the comfort of knowing that I don't have to worry about making sure that every open source package I'm depending on is up to date. It's nice to have that automated. I think, but in general, when I think about application security from a developer point of view, it's giving developers tools to make sure that they're at least they've got the right guardrails, and that it's easy and that they can focus on just their code, rather than worrying about these vague things that just distract them. So I don't know if that's a helpful definition of app security or not, but
it's something. Yeah. So let me just go through a bit of DevSecOps, just a bit of and then you can dive into Defender for DevOps. So let me know when you see my screen.
We do see your screen. The same issue that happened right before happened again. So your network bandwidth went low. So if we lose you, we'll just wait for you to come back like we did before.
Okay.
I think we already lost her. Oh no, she's there. Okay.
Yeah.
And can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, we can see it.
Awesome.
We see a couple of numbers. But can you do one thing? Can you click the hide link?
The hide, okay.
Yeah, so that way we can at least see everything of the text. Thank you. All right. So go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so this is just a bit of stats just to show you. So you'll see that, 52% of companies actually sacrifice cybersecurity for speed. So you'll find that for most organizations, like you have a particular deadline. The managers or the executives say that you have to push this particular feature out by next week Friday. So what happens by next Thursday if you find a serious or critical security vulnerability? So what happens? And it actually takes like around 3 days to actually fix that security vulnerability, and it will actually delay the delivery of the feature. So most people security vulnerability. So and you can imagine what happens now. You're already in production, and then there's a critical security vulnerability, and then now maybe that critical security vulnerability has something like remote code execution. So they can be able to even compromise your backend system, like to be able to access your servers. So there's a lot that is at stake if you don't fix the security vulnerabilities early enough. So you'll find that actually in our code, like 80 to 90% of our code is actually borrowed code, like third-party components, resource companies as well. So if you don't take security, if you don't secure those components, what we call software composition analysis for your third-party components, you will be introducing security vulnerabilities into your environment. So that's why it is really, really important, because you can imagine what happens so a hacker actually has to be lucky only once for them to infiltrate your system. For us, you have to be lucky every single time. So that's why we have this concept called defense depth or security in depth. So whereby you're putting layers and layers of security on top of your infrastructure and as well as on top of your applications to make it hard for hackers to compromise your application, your network, your infrastructure. Okay. So apart from that, we also have other vulnerabilities. So apart from the 80 to 90% of unchecked dependencies. So Matt, you mentioned Dependabot. So Dependabot checks for dependencies, as the name suggests. So it checks for third-party components if they're vulnerable, if some of the components that you're using are out of date. So if you don't take note of the releases or the vulnerabilities of the day, we have this thing called zero-day vulnerabilities. So every single day we have security vulnerabilities. So you have to take note as well of if the components that you're actually using are secure or not. So I like that Dependabot actually gives you email notifications as well every single day, or as per the setting that you've set. So at least it tells you that this particular component is actually vulnerable. So we also have a big component, employee error. So you'll find that whenever we're coding, by mistake, like you've left secrets or hard-coded credentials in your code, or you've actually used you're not maybe using best practices in your code. So a big error in vulnerabilities is employee error. That's why we need to train everyone around secure coding as well. So apart from that, as you can see here, it becomes a lot more expensive to fix security vulnerabilities once it's in production than earlier on in the software development lifecycle. So the whole point of having tools like Microsoft Defender for DevOps is to integrate security early on in your software development lifecycle, what we call shifting left. So at least you can be able to identify security vulnerabilities whenever you're developing, whenever you're building, and whenever you're deploying as well. So at least you reduce the chances of being infiltrated. Okay. So I'll cover what we have as well. So we have yes, as I said, it's very important to shift to left, because we're talking about having there's an 80% reduction in security incidents once you identify it before in production, and also the cost, it's 60 times less expensive to fix security vulnerabilities in development rather than in production. So this is very important. So concept of DevSecOps. So the software development lifecycle, I would put it in these 4 stages. Pre-commit, we have the commit, and then we have the deploy, and then we have the operate and monitoring. So during the pre-commit, we have stuff like threat modeling. We have the Microsoft threat modeling tool. Maybe we'll have a session as well for Microsoft threat modeling tool. It's a tool that is amazing. I don't know if the audience
know
uses
it
as much as I do.
Yeah,
Yes,
I use it a
so
lot.
it's an amazing. So here, yeah. So you're trying to vectors that can be used by a hacker to compromise your system, and then you try
Yes.
as much as possible to fix or fix those vulnerabilities or vectors earlier on when you're designing. And then for IDE security plugins. So for me, whenever I'm talking in conferences, like I like training developers on how they can be able to integrate IDE security plugins. We have like CodeQL. There's a CodeQL extension in VS Code whereby it's downloaded and that you can be able to check for security vulnerabilities in your IDE. So whenever you're coding. And then you have pre-commit hooks as well. So if you're trying to push your code like to GitHub and then it has like secrets. With pre-commit hooks, it will prevent you from actually pushing because it will tell you that there are secrets in this code. So you have to fix that within this line as well. So you also have to have secure coding standards and peer review. So the interesting part, like now whereby we are automating security is now in static code analysis, in security unit tests, in dependency management, in credential scanning. So I promise this is important because now Defender for DevOps captures all these. Okay, it captures the commit and deploy. So at least if you want to for static code analysis, like if your code actually has security vulnerabilities, it has a feature for that as well.
So does that compete and with
So let me
GitHub
just show
Advanced
you
Security?
an overview. No, we work hand in hand with GitHub Advanced Security. So
Okay.
as of now, so it uses open source tools as well. So let me get that. So whenever you're developing, let me show you. So I'll also share these resources as well. So with Defender for DevOps, it actually checks and gives you advice on static code analysis by Bandit. So it uses open source tools. So it uses this particular open source tool. So for Bandit, it will check you for now Python code for security vulnerabilities, and then it will tell you like if it's actually vulnerable. Then which lines of code like you actually have to fix them. And then for binary, it uses bin scheme. And then if you're using JavaScript, it's using ESLint as well. And then if you want to check for credentials in your code, use cred scan, and then it will give you like if you have hard coded credentials, leaked credentials there. And then for infrastructure as code, we are using Terrascan. And then we're using for your ARM templates to check if it's actually set well with template analyzer. And then for your container security, we're using Trivi.
Yeah, by Aqua.
So Defender for DevOps, yes. So Defender for DevOps currently is public preview, and yes, you can go in and start using it because it cuts across all this in terms of the commit and you deploy. So at least you can be able to identify static code analysis using Bandit, and then you can be able to integrate all this as well for infrastructure as code and your cloud configuration checks, your security tests as well. So it's quite important. You can go in and just try it out. So let me just show you how you can be able to start off.
Yes, now I'm interested.
Hey. So the thing with Defender for DevOps. So apart from it being available, like you can be able to scan for even for your commit stages during your software development lifecycle, deploy as well. It is multi-pipeline, so you can be able to have visibility of like GitHub actions and as well as DevOps. So you can be able to plug in on both of them. There are extensions for both of them. So how you can be able to have that visibility. So Defender for DevOps is a tool of Defender for Cloud. So the thing I like about Defender for DevOps is that one thing that we usually struggle with in DevSecOps, people are busy taking tools from everywhere, like you're incorporating this tool, so it becomes very noisy.
Yes.
And then most tools have stuff like false positives. So false positives is whereby it tells you that there's this particular vulnerability and it's actually not a vulnerability. So it takes a lot of time for you to analyze to actually see if that particular vulnerability is true or false. So so you can imagine if you're incorporating like 20 different tools, and then now it becomes quite noisy. So the thing I like about DevOps is when it has combined all those tools, and then it will send all those notifications into one place, into Defender for Cloud. So the way you can be able to incorporate your various multi-pipelines is to come to environment. You go to Microsoft Defender for Cloud, you go to environment settings. And did I also mention, like, it's not only multi-pipeline, it's also multi-cloud. You can be able to integrate to AWS if you're hosting there, and as well as GCP. So when you go to environment settings and you go here to add environment, so you can be able to, if your resources are in AWS, you can get there. If it's in GCP, you can click that as well. If it's in GitHub, you can click that as well. And if it's in Azure DevOps, it's there as well. So I had already, so let me just take you through. So if it's on GitHub, GitHub connection, you give it a name, you give it a subscription, and then it will import your repos to Defender for Cloud. So I had already done that, and I have my my repo here, and so you can. So the thing with my GitHub repo, I had already created, or I had already set up a workflow for Defender for DevOps, and then it gave me security vulnerabilities there. But you can also be able to just import your pipelines here, and then it will give you an overview of your security vulnerabilities as well. So I had already imported my environment, and then you can do the same if you have your Azure repos in Azure DevOps. And then I'll share the links as well, so you can be able to go in and deploy Microsoft Defender for DevOps in your GitHub Actions and Azure DevOps. And then what I was saying in terms of having visibility of everything in one place, we do that using workbooks. So when you workbooks, there's a workbook for Defender for DevOps. So this one is DevOps security. So you go in, and then it will give you an overall view of everything. So it's telling me that I have high security vulnerabilities. And for code security, I have this by my pie chart, and then I have 570 medium security vulnerabilities as well. So for code DevOps security, you can see mine are actually very vulnerable, because I actually like playing around with vulnerable applications. So if you want to play
you use
around
juice
with
shops.
some
That means a
vulnerable
lot.
apps,
Yeah.
yes. So I use Juice Shop, and we also have some like Django as well.
Django.
We have WebGoat if you use
Yes.
Java. So there are very many vulnerable applications that you can use depending on the language used. So you can see it gives me an overview of my security posture. So for secrets, as I said earlier, so it will credit scan. It has credit scan, so it will tell you that if you have any credentials exposed, and then it will also give you like your code security in terms of static code analysis. Remember, static code analysis is the security vulnerabilities within your code. So by static, it means that your code is not running, so it will statically scan your code. And then for OSS vulnerabilities, so open. Yes, so for OSS vulnerabilities whereby it's open source security. So what we're talking about dependencies, we check for using dependable as well. So for infrastructure code, it will scroll through my using Terraform, and then it found that I have all the security vulnerabilities according to my infrastructure code. Isn't this wonderful though? Like you can have visibility of everything in one workbook. So it also tells me my security posture, like overall security posture and what I need to fix. So as of now, I have 43 high security vulnerabilities and 91 medium security vulnerabilities. So the way with security, we have CVEs. So CVEs, so remember I mentioned we have 0-day vulnerabilities. So if security vulnerability is found today, it will be given a particular ID. So normally it's according to the day when it is actually identified. So like it will be 2023 and then given a particular ID to identify that particular CE. And then the way we actually calculate security vulnerabilities is if it's critical, high, medium, or low. And sometimes it can also informative. So for informative, it's maybe not so dangerous, but it's very important just to know the criticality of your security vulnerability so that you can be able to identify to close them. So don't assume that since you have medium security vulnerability, it's not critical. Like I can just leave it.
It's still
we have
technical
several
debt.
measures that you can be able to use. Yes. So we have you can do lateral movements. You can be able to do privilege escalation and make that particular security vulnerability even worse.
Yes.
So there's a lot that goes around that. So so I think that's just a general overview of Defender for DevOps. I will give you the links so at least the audience can be able to go in and play around with Defender for DevOps. As of now, you can be able to do it. It's not only for Microsoft customers. Like you can be able to use it for your multi pipelines, multi cloud, and see the various features that you have. And then if you play around with it and you find that there are particular features that you'd want to be incorporated, I can also share a link so at least can give feedback, or you can even reach out to me on LinkedIn, on Twitter, so at least we can work on those features as well to make it comprehensive for the customers as well. So that's the general overview of Defender for DevOps. As you can see, it covers everything like within your development lifecycle in terms of security automation, and it's amazing. Like you can have everything in one view. Yeah, I don't know if you have any questions.
Well, actually, that was a good overview. Thank you for that. Since it's Defender for Cloud integrated, is there also anything like direct mitigations that you can do, just like you have in Defender for Cloud with quick fixes and all these things? Is there something like that pops up, or do you just have notifications saying, look, these are the things that you should change and work it so these are the new packages that are there, because that information comes from Trivy or whatever you have for your container scanning? Is there anything up in that sleeve that you have, like quick fixes that are in there, or is it just static
yes.
closures
it also
that
gives
that you have?
No, so you have the security score. So within Defender for Cloud, like it will give you recommendations on how you can be able to fix those security vulnerabilities, each one of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay, cool. Cool enough. It's I mean, I was in love immediately when I saw it the first time. I do like the way they implemented it on the multiple levels. I like it that you actually immediately get results. Also, because I played around with it a lot and can tell you that if you change something into a like a bicep file, immediately will pop up and saying, "Hey, you changed to FTPS or to FTP and shouldn't be doing that." Stuff like that. It's like really goes deep.
Mhm.
Um, it also very nice that it shows your CI/CD sanity, because that's typically something that is forgotten. We focus too much on developer security, but also the configuration part is where it typically can go wrong. And this is something that Defender for DevOps does really really well. So yeah, I'm a big fan. Is there anything? Is there one of the features in there that you say, well, that's the for me that's the killer feature?
Um, my killer feature there, I think it's just as I mentioned earlier, like just to have that multi-cloud feature as well, that I can be able
Mhm.
to scan my resources in the various clouds, and even if I have repos in GitHub and as well as Azure DevOps, like I have the freedom to use this tool across everything that I want. So that's the one thing I also like, and as well as having this visibility of a security posture across all those clouds and across your
Mhm.
several pipelines in one place.
That's indeed very practical. Matt, do you have any questions here still?
No, actually, I just realized I need to spend a little more time digging in because this was a great demo, and it's I learned some things that it does that are really important, and I need to know a little more about it. So thank you. Um,
Let's talk.
yeah, like I said, hey, I don't code that often, so I'm pretty safe. But
No, but it's more. There's more to that meets the eye. I mean,
oh yeah,
you need to learn about Stride and Dread and OWASP and CVE and
Mhm.
NIST and all these things. And security can be very complex, and a lot of developers dread that. That's what Joylynn came to explain in the beginning of our
Yeah,
session.
yeah.
All right, Joylynn, thank you so much for joining on our show. I loved the topic, and I loved it that you were able to swing by. I'll see you in May, by the way, because we will meet
Yes.
face to face at
Is it in
Tekorama.
me? Yeah, we're
It's in
meeting face
May.
to
It's in
face
May.
in Belgium.
Yeah, and we'll discuss this a little bit more. All
Yes.
right, friends of Azure Unsung Heroes, thanks again for joining us. It was a great show. Thanks again to the people in Kenya, and
Mhm.
thanks again to the people in the more to the west. Um, we bid the goodbye for the rest of the day, and we see you again in a couple of weeks. Bye bye.